Hello, my name is Mary Lamb and I'm the Service Hydrologist with the Weather Service Forecast Office in Paducah, Kentucky. So you remember this logo? This is Weather Ready Nation, and if you've watched any of the other presentations from the winter weather workshops, you've seen this before. So there was a Regional Hydro Program Managers Conference in Kansas City back in early September that I attended. Knowing that there were going to be several presentations about Weather Ready Nation, I dutifully grabbed a copy of the document to read on the plane. And to my credit, I only dozed off a couple of times. There were a couple of quotes from the executive summary that caught my eye. The first one, the National Weather Service is transforming its operations to help America respond to devastating impacts from extreme events. Okay, so we're going to transform a little. And Weather Ready Nation is about building community resilience in the face of increasing vulnerability to extreme weather and water events. Our acting regional director at the time made the statement that this is our next modernization. It's coming. Be ready. After rereading the document to prepare for this workshop, I see this as more an evolution versus a modernization. We went through modernization in the 90s and early 2000s. New offices, new radars, new satellites, and new computers. We went from strictly text-based products to graphical and gridded products. We don't just issue a text-based warning anymore. You can actually see the polygon we've drawn. So what does agile, flexible, and open mean? It means hopefully that we provide you with the impact-based products and services that you need to create the products that you need instead of us creating the products that we think you want. A big part of Weather Ready Nation is impact-based decision support services, and a lot of this we're already doing. Whether we're providing you multimedia briefings online, conference calls by phone, or in extreme events, one-on-one briefings in an EOC, the goal is to provide you with forecast and warning services based on local and regional impacts. So how does this relate to hydrology? Well, it's already kind of here, and it's in the form of AHPS, our Advanced Hydrology Prediction Service. Its main goal is to provide you with lots of information in one place so that you can make effective water decisions. You can quickly get information regarding the latest stages and the forecasted stages and crests. You can see where that gauge is located and get the highest crest, low water readings, and soon a listing of the latest crest. If you noticed on the left of the map, you can now click on a button to show the FEMA National Flood Hazard Layers map. You'll have to watch your zoom level though, as they are only viewable between levels 14 and 16. For about half of our forecast points, you can now see what the river may do in the next 90 days. What are the chances of the river rising in the next 90 days compared to past history and climate? And you can see this as in the left graphic on a weekly basis, or you can see the whole 90 days as a whole. As you can see, if your black line is sitting on top of your blue line, you have a better chance of it flooding versus history, or if that black line is below the blue line, you have less of a chance of it hitting flooding. And increasingly more important, below that location map is a listing of your flood impact statements. These are statements that tell you what's going to happen at certain levels. Do you know who's watching these? FEMA's using these statements. And as I learned the hard way this past spring, they raised a lot of questions regarding the Cape Girardeau statements. If we'd give it to them, they want street addresses for the houses and businesses that will flood and a listing of every road that will flood. They don't like big gaps between the levels either. If they see something happening at 32 feet, 34 feet, but then nothing happening till 40 feet, they want to know what's going on between that 34 and 40 feet. They're also watching our flood categories, and sometimes our definitions of minor, moderate, and major don't fit theirs. The bottom line is these statements are not just to supplement our warnings and statements anymore. Other agencies, state and federal, are watching these, and that makes these statements all the more important. So, that means I need your help. If you have a forecast point located in your county, you got an email from me last fall requesting that you take a look at these and let me know of any discrepancies or omissions. I heard back from about half of you, and I thought that was pretty good. But now I'm asking again. Take a real close look at them. Get with your city or county engineer, local businesses, whoever. Make sure that these are what you want somebody watching. And check them periodically, especially during flooding. Is something that is supposed to be flooding actually flooding? Or is something that we say is flooding not flooding? If changes or additions need to be made, please email me. Another big component of Weather Ready Nation, as far as hydrology is concerned, is inundation mapping. We don't just want to tell you where it's going to flood. We want to show you where it's going to flood. If inundation maps are available for a point, there will be another tab above the hydrograph. The city of Hopkinsville, Kentucky spent a lot of money to put in river gauges around their city, and they even spent the money to have inundation maps created for a gauge that sits just upstream of the city. And here's a sample of what you can get. For these points, a library of static maps are created at various stages. If you show a map of inundation levels, you can mouse over each level and see where the water will reach. You can even click on that blue shaded area in the flooding and see an approximate depth of the water at that point. You can also view the maps by flood category. You can just see what minor, moderate, and major effects. So what does it take to get these maps for your river forecast point? These next few slides are from our project manager in Kansas City, and I'll do my best to explain them. To get inundation maps created, the first thing you need are detailed terrain data, and most of the time this is available in the form of LiDAR data. Typically this has already been collected and outside of the mapping project. You also need detailed information about structures such as roads, bridges, and levees, if it's not available. This may be collected by surveyors or derived from as-built plans. A hydraulic modeling is developed using a FEMA-approved modeling package such as the Corps of Engineers HEC-RAS hydraulic model. The model is calibrated to the rating curve used by the National Weather Service River Forecasting Centers and any available historical flood information. The hydraulic model is converted to flood inundation depth grids. Flood inundation depth grids are then cleaned up and adjusted in using GIS. The final version of the depth grids are provided to a Weather Service web contractor and published on the National Weather Service AHPS pages. This is really a 3 to 4 step process, the first step being your scoping and planning, where you want to get with me if you're interested in this. Your second step involves contracting with someone to do your hydraulic modeling and your GIS work. And then in the final stages, there's a lot of back and forth. Once the GIS maps are created, they will be sent back to the city or county or whoever's done the contracting. They'll be sent to me, and we'll go back and forth saying, well, does this look right? Well, I think this needs to be changed. But there's a lot of back and forth that does take place before these are finally put on the AHPS web pages. And like with anything the Weather Service does, we cannot do anything without a guide. There is a full set of guidance and standards that are available to interested communities and technical mapping partners. And if you're interested in this, you can email me or you can click on the link below. It is important to note that the National Weather Service does not fund the projects or provide the technical resources to develop the projects. The National Weather Service does provide guidance on oversight to ensure the products meet the standards for publication on our AHPS web pages. So, to publish AHPS flood maps in your community, contact me if you want assistance with the scoping early on in the process. You need to identify and fund an agency. Typically this is the USGS for your state, or another consultant to do the hydrology and hydraulic study and your GIS work. You need to provide funding for each location to a Weather Service web contractor so that they are put on our AHPS web pages. And through this whole process, you need to involve your floodplain manager or your levee district manager, emergency management, public works, anybody that would benefit or need these maps. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at mary.lamb, Lamm, @noaa.gov. Thank you.